This is Chris Evans of QFAX with part 2 of working with oscillators. Now, last time we talked about the RSI and trying to build systems using RSI and looking for reversals. And we established that the RSI length that made more sense than the 14-day default is 5 days. I used overbought, oversold entries based on the neutral level of 50 plus or minus a certain number of standard deviations. And I exited. If the market went above 50, I exited long, and below 50, I exited short. Now I'm going to change two things. The screen before was a close compared to the moving average set at 200-day look back. Now I'm going to compare the 200-day moving average to the 200-day moving average 2 days ago. And we're going to see if that, in fact, improves the outcome. I'm also then going to look at opening range breakouts. This is the old system. And you can see here we've established the trend. The close is above the 200-day moving average. And so every time the 5-day oscillator pulls back below 50, in this case I'm using a 0.75 standard deviation move, then I can buy it, and I exit it rather quickly anytime it gets back above 50. And you can see that's happening here in the market, and this rally is giving you a number of entry points that are all working quite well. Now, what I'm going to look at here, the first thing we'll do is we'll test to see, am I better off, instead of comparing the close to a moving average, I should perhaps compare the moving average to itself 2 days prior. We're going to use any moving average length between 100 to 250 to see if the optimizer chooses and prefers one over the other. And in the optimization, in the top 10 results, 8 of the top 10 lengths chosen were for the differential, not for the close versus the moving average structure. So immediately I'll abandon comparing the close to the moving average, and I'll just look at the differential. And I'm not going to change the length. I'm going to leave it at 200 days. That's kind of between 190 and 210. It's somewhat in the middle of this range of normal outcomes. So that's where we're going to set this at. That's the first thing I'm going to do. The next thing is I'm going to allow for the market not just to exit at the market if it gets overbought above 50. I'm going to exit if it moves after the market opens down by a certain number of true ranges, something between 0 and a half of a true range. In this case, an average true range of 3 days. Does that help? First, let's look actually at the performance, and there's the performance using the differential with my presets such as they were before. And I'm going to make one change. We're not going to let this now select its own outcome for this number of true ranges between 0 and 0.4. We're going to set this moving average differential at 200 days, and we're only going to use the differential and not compare it to the close versus the moving average. Let it run that optimization, and you can see that it is choosing numbers greater than 0. In fact, it's choosing this number here, 0.35, which is in between 0.3 and 0.4. That seems like a reasonable solution. They all work, and they all work better than simply exiting at the market. All of them work better than exiting at the market. So now we can look at a picture of whether this system is attractive or not. And you can see the results here. And that is a system that looks tradable. Through pretty much every style of environment, this is the bubble of the NASDAQ. This is the real estate bubble in here. The system was profitable. And there are periods when it doesn't succeed, but they don't tend to last. And when it fails, with 2 true range trailing stops, the failures usually are comparatively manageable. So that's what I wanted to show. These new signals, you can see how the entries still look very similar in the same trends. The only difference is the exits are delayed because we actually need the market to move away from the open. And that's what they're doing here. You can see that on this kind of day, the market was already overbought right here, and the market waited till the next day. So I'm happy with those results, and this is a system you might want to consider using.